Todd Meadows, one of the stars of the hit fishing reality show Deadliest Catch, has died. He was 25. We're told Meadows was recovered from the water by crew members about 10 minutes later and attempted to resuscitate him, but were unsuccessful.
Rick Shelford spent 5 generations worth of legacy building himself into one of the most recognizable captains on the most dangerous fishing show in television history. He survived brutal seasons, feuds with legendary captains, and years of Bering Sea winters that would break most men. But on February 25, 2026, a 25-year-old deckhand named Todd Meadows fell into freezing water and never came back up. The Coast Guard opened an investigation that led Rick Shelford to make a decision that nobody in the fishing world saw coming. The day everything changed. It was February 25, 2026, and by all accounts, the Bering Sea was being unusually kind that afternoon. The water was calm, the sky was clear, the sun was still up. Trey John Green, a deckhand and the bunkmate of Todd Meadows, later told reporters that it was not the kind of day where you expect something to go wrong. He said the sea was flat. He said it was good fishing weather. That detail matters because what happened next had nothing to do with a rogue wave or a violent storm. Todd Meadows was 25 years old. He was the newest member of the crew. He had grown up fishing with his father in Washington State from the time he was 3 years old, and he had worked his way onto the Aleutian lady through a friend, eager to earn money and chase a dream of one day owning his own charter boat. That day, he was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing. He was inside one of the 900-pound crab pots that had been placed on the launcher, sifting through crabs. It was a routine task the crew took turns doing throughout the season. Then the pot went over the rail and back into the water, with Todd still inside it. Green ran to the stern and climbed on top of stacked pots to get a higher view. He spotted Todd in the water below. What he said next in interviews is the detail that haunts everyone who hears it. He said he could see Todd swimming. He said Todd had freed himself from the pot somehow. He said Todd was alive, looking around. And from what Green described as roughly 100 yards away, he could still see Todd's eyes, his huge baby blue eyes looking around in the freezing water. Captain Rick Shelford began maneuvering the boat closer immediately. A crew member named Steve Porter, the vessel's designated rescue swimmer, suited up and entered the water. They got to Todd. They pulled him toward the boat. According to Green, Todd was halfway up, almost back on deck, almost safe. Then he slipped. He fell back in. The second time they lifted him, Todd was lifeless. He had been in the water for approximately 3 to 4 minutes. The water temperature was just 1 or 2 degrees above freezing. When they finally got him aboard, he was turning blue. There was foam coming from his mouth and his nose. The crew brought him inside immediately. They used the boat's AED device. They performed CPR continuously for somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes. Nothing worked. Captain Shelford made the call. They wrapped Todd's body to preserve it and began the 12-hour journey back to Dutch Harbor. Now, here is the angle that immediately placed Rick Shelford under a microscope that goes far beyond ordinary tragedy. In Season 19 of Deadliest Catch, filmed in 2023, a fellow captain named Sean Dwyer was scheduled to co-captain the Aleutian Lady alongside Shelford. Dwyer looked at the state of the vessel before departure and refused to go. He said on camera, and these are his exact words, "I'm feeling like this is chaos, and I don't necessarily feel like it's a good idea to take off. I honestly feel like there's some corners that are being cut, and I'm concerned." Shelford dismissed him. He told Dwyer on camera, "There is no safety issue at all." Dwyer left the vessel. The footage sat in the show's archive. And now, in the weeks following Todd Meadows' death, that old clip has been spreading rapidly online. Viewers have been watching it back to back. Not one single crew member on the Aleutian Lady was wearing a life jacket the day Todd went overboard. Not Todd, not the rescue swimmer before he suited up, not Green, not anyone. Green confirmed this openly in interviews. On March 2, 2026, Rick Shelford posted a tribute to Todd on Facebook. He wrote that February 25th was the most tragic day in the history of the Aleutian Lady. He described Todd as someone whose laughter coming up the wheelhouse stairs was something the crew would carry with them always. He said Todd's heart was broken in a way words could not fully express. The post received hundreds of reactions and shares. Todd's grandmother responded directly in the comments, calling herself his shattered grandmother. Discovery Channel released a short statement saying they were deeply saddened and could not comment further because the Coast Guard investigation was active. To understand what Rick Shelford stands to lose, you need to understand exactly what he built his entire existence around and how long it took him to get here. The man who built everything on this. Rick Shelford did not choose crab fishing. It chose him before he was born. His great-great-grandfather, a Norwegian immigrant named Soren Sorensen, arrived at Adak Island as a 12-year-old boy and helped build the Alaskan crab industry from nothing. His grandfather carried that work forward. His father, Rick Shelford Sr., grew up in Homer, Alaska, bought into his first vessel at 20 years old, acquired the Aleutian Lady around 1988, and founded Shelford Fisheries in 1995. Rick Jr. started as a greenhorn on the Aleutian Lady in 1997 at 19 years old. He did not walk into anything. He scrubbed decks, hauled pots, learned every system on that vessel from the hull up, and worked through every rank until he reached captain. By 2012, he had stepped back from the water to run Shelford Fisheries from shore as fleet manager, managing the entire operation while someone else stood at the helm of the boat he had spent his life on. He called those 7 years almost like retirement, but the ocean pulled him back. In 2019, he returned to active duty on the Aleutian Lady and immediately reminded everyone why he belonged there. His crew averaged 1,000 opilio crabs per pot that first season back. In 2020, they caught over 106,000 pounds of red king crab in 5 days. When Deadliest Catch came calling for season 19 in 2023, Shelford brought something rare to the show. On his personal website, he described what that means to him in one sentence that has aged uncomfortably since February 2026. He wrote, "The Bering Sea is relentless, and at times it can make you feel like a blind man dancing on the edge of your grave." That was not written for cameras. That is genuinely how this man understands the life he inherited. The show gave him some of his most exposed moments on television. In season 21, he traveled to Adak Island and found his grandfather's old property, discovered a desk with an ancient map inside, and called it priceless. He wept on camera when news reached him at sea that his grandfather had died, and he could not go home. He said the hardest part of being a captain was being away from loved ones when it mattered most. That is the same man who was standing at the helm on February 25, 2026, when Todd Meadows went into the Bering Sea and did not come back. Todd Meadows is not the first person connected to Deadliest Catch to die. He is not even close to the first. But what makes his death different from nearly every other tragedy in this show's 21-year history is that it happened during filming on an active vessel on a working day, and every moment was captured. To understand why this particular death carries so much weight, you need to know the full picture of what came before. Deadliest Catch's long and painful history with death. Deadliest Catch has always known how to bury its dead. In 21 seasons, it has honored stroke victims, overdose casualties, men crushed by equipment, and entire crews swallowed whole by the Bering Sea. Phil Harris was the first cast member to die. He suffered a massive stroke on January 29, 2010, while unloading crab at St. Paul Island, lasted 11 days in an Anchorage hospital and died of a brain hemorrhage on February 9th. He was 53, a fixture since season 1. Even as he was dying, he told the crew to keep the cameras rolling. His tribute episode drew 8.5 million viewers, one of the most watched broadcasts in Discovery Channel history. Justin Tennyson died 4 days after returning from his last trip on the Time Bandit in February 2011. He was 33, found dead in a hotel room in Homer, Alaska, from complications related to sleep apnea. His death pointed to something fishing families have always known, but rarely say out loud. The danger does not stay on the water. In February 2017, the FV Destination sank near St. George Island and killed all 6 crew members. The boat went under in 4 minutes. No Mayday call was made. No bodies were ever recovered. The Coast Guard called it tragic and preventable. Those 2 words are now being used again about a completely different vessel 9 years later. Blake Painter died of a suspected overdose in 2018 at 38. Nick McGlashan died of a combined overdose in December 2020 at 33. Malin Reyes died just 5 months before McGlashan, also of an overdose. 3 young men embedded in the world this show built died within 2 years of each other. Todd Kochutin was 30 when an 800-pound crab pot slid across the deck of the Patricia Lee in February 2021 and killed him. 8 months later, a nearly identical accident on the same vessel crushed another crew member. The captain said it felt like déjà vu. Nick Mavar, who appeared in nearly 100 episodes on the Northwestern, died of a heart attack in a boatyard in June 2024 at 59, having filed a lawsuit against the production company before his death. More than 30 deaths connected to this show and its fleet across 21 years. Strokes, sinkings, overdoses, crushings, a killing, and now a man overboard. Between 2000 and 2014, the CDC recorded 210 fatal falls overboard in American commercial fishing. The number of those victims wearing a life jacket at the time of death was 0. Not 1. Researchers have worked on this problem for decades. The industry has largely continued doing what it always has. Then on February 25, 2026, a 25-year-old fell into the Bering Sea with no life jacket on while cameras rolled on deck. The pattern held, and this time the whole world was watching. The U.S. Coast Guard officially confirmed that an investigation into Todd Meadows' death was opened immediately. Let's tell you what the investigation is actually looking for. Coast Guard. Captain Christopher Culpepper, commander of Sector Western Alaska, made the investigation's purpose clear from the start. He stated publicly, "This is a tragic reminder of the dangers fishermen face daily. We are committed to a thorough investigation to understand what happened and to help prevent future tragedies at sea." The scope of what they are looking for is not vague, and it is not soft. 4 specific determinations: the cause of the incident and any contributing factors, any evidence of misconduct or negligence, whether there was a failure of equipment or material on the vessel, and whether any government personnel played any role in what happened. That word negligence is sitting directly inside the official mandate. It is not rhetorical. It carries legal consequences. And when you place the known facts against it, the full weight of what Rick Shelford is facing becomes impossible to look away from. Todd Meadows suffered a concussion aboard the Aleutian Lady approximately 1 month before his death on that same vessel. He was sent home to Washington to recover, medically cleared, and return to work. His mother, Angela, has said clearly that the family does not blame the production for the head injury itself. But the question of whether a man fresh off a concussion should have been back inside 900-pound crab pots on a remote stretch of the Bering Sea with no life jacket on is a question this investigation will have to answer directly. No crew members were wearing life jackets. This is not technically illegal under current maritime law for commercial fishing deck operations. But it is a safety gap so large and so thoroughly documented that the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health has been working to close it for over 20 years. The fact that it is not illegal does not make it safe. It makes it the industry standard, and that standard has been killing fishermen for decades without consequence. The Anchorage Medical Examiner performed an autopsy on Todd Meadows. As of March 9, 2026, the official cause of death has not been released. The investigation remains active, and his mother has made a direct public plea to the Discovery Channel. We don't want to see any footage from the accident and do not want Discovery to air any of that footage or make money off of our son's death. No parent would want the world to watch their child die. Now, let's be direct about something that most coverage of this story has danced around carefully. Rick Shelford's career on a knife edge. As of March 9, 2026, there is a complete silence from a man who is normally very public and very vocal. And that silence, when you understand what he is facing, tells its own story. The pressure coming at Rick Shelford right now is coming from multiple directions simultaneously. The Coast Guard investigation is examining his vessel and the circumstances of his crew member's death. The investigation scope explicitly includes a review for evidence of misconduct or negligence. Todd's mother has publicly stated that someone has to take responsibility and that the family will have justice for Todd. Beyond the legal and investigative pressure, there is the emotional weight that anyone paying attention can sense underneath Shelford's tribute post. He described the sound of Todd's laughter coming up the wheelhouse stairs as something the crew would carry with us always. Shelford steps away from the show, whether he simply takes a season off, whether the investigation forces regulatory consequences, or whether Discovery quietly reassigns the show's focus to other vessels. The era of all gas and no brakes on the Aleutian Lady may have reached a point where the brakes are no longer optional. The show has survived every death before this one. It survived Phil Harris. It survived the Destination sinking. It survived the overdose tragedies. It came back every season. But those deaths, as devastating as they were, did not happen live on a camera deck while the show was actively filming. This one did. And the world is watching in a way it has not watched before. For now, only Todd's family is at a loss. Let's take a brief look at Todd's life. The family Todd Meadows left behind. Todd Morgan Meadows grew up in Elma, Washington, the oldest of 6 siblings. His father started taking him fishing at 3 years old. By the time he was a young man, he was running 21-day charter fishing stretches out of Westport, Washington, and using his days off to fish for himself. A friend eventually connected him to the Aleutian Lady and the opportunity to fish the Bering Sea for season 22. He jumped at it. He was 25 years old with 3 young sons and a partner named Kennedy Harvey from Aberdeen, Washington. They were not married, but they were building towards something real. They were planning to buy a home together. He had a spring deckhanding job already lined up on the Hot Pursuit charter out of Westport for when crab season ended. He was not chasing fame. He was chasing a future. He was going home to his boys. His father, Lucas, said Todd smiled every single day without exception. Good days and bad ones made no difference. His mother, Angela, put it simply. He wasn't out there to make friends. He wasn't out there to click with people. He was just out there to work and to do what he loved. Kennedy Harvey posted on Facebook the day after Todd died. Her words were not written for anyone else. They were raw and real. She wrote, "I don't have words. Nothing I do or say will bring you back. Not only were you my children's father, but you were my best friend. No matter what terms we were on, we always came to each other for comfort, and no one could understand why but us. I'm so mad. I'm mad at the world, myself and you. Life is not fair. She also promised their boys she would never let them forget him. She wrote directly to Todd, "You passed doing what you loved, and that brings me a little bit of comfort knowing that." Todd's sister Mackenzie said it best. His boys will see him through pictures, and we will see him through his boys. 3 little boys are going to grow up and search their father's name one day. The answer to what happened to him is still being written in a Coast Guard investigation file in Juneau, Alaska. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us what you think should happen next, because this story is far from over.